Okay. So sports fans, first of all, everybody, right? I see a lot of sports memorabilia. Yeah? Sort of? All right, cool. So that's all I do is sports. I decided to go to the sports route when I was pretty young because I didn't want to cover murders and such. Some people love that, but for the most part, my job is, fun, not so much controversy. Obviously, we get like the Tank Johnson stories occasionally, but a lot of it is sports and it's fun. So the biggest thing in your internship is don't take no for an answer. Don't let people tell you you can't learn something unless it's a union shop, obviously, which I'm sure you have conversations about that. But the biggest thing you can do is put your nose in everything you can. Ask a million questions, go out on shoots, go out with anchors, reporters. You learn so much in the field. Go to a Bulls game and see what a camera guy does. Go to a Bulls game and see what the reporter does, how they write their stories, how they research what they're going to do. What's the story of the game? They literally, when a reporter sits there, they're watching every play of the game because they don't have the announcer to listen to. They're not, listening to a TV. They're watching the game, so they have to literally watch every play. Okay, so from CSN Philly, I became an editor, and then I was there 4 years, and I went to George Michael Sports Machine. George Michael is basically what ESPN was in the 70s and 80s, and he would be on at 12:30 at night after Saturday Night Live on the East Coast. It taught me a ton. So in 2004, they launched CSN Chicago. They took over for Fox SportsNet, and I moved here to help them launch. So we were in a truck in Oak Brook, literally broadcasting live out of a satellite truck. We had a studio, but we didn't have a control room. And then in a year and a half later, we moved to Chicago. So we've been on the air for 10 years now. I'm sure you guys all watch the games, Cubs, Sox, Bulls, Hawks. We cover the Bears. So originally, I was just doing a lot of the news shows, editing for the news shows, and sort of overseeing all the editors. But now I'm in charge of anything that we do that's original content. So they're looking for programming. Instead of filling it with infomercials, they want it to be sports programming, basically. So I don't know, have any of you watched Gas Money, that game show? Yes, I know. I recognized you as soon as you walked in. So Gas Money is being resurrected as Beer Money in a few months, so I'm in charge of that. It's like a trivia game show. You guys will see it probably a lot during baseball season. So anything that is basically produced from the ground up, that's what I'm in charge of now. So I'm around the teams a lot, not necessarily in the locker room, but sort of like outside doing interviews when they're in their comfort zone. So at their house, Joakim Noah, that kind of stuff, following them around when they're not, on the court or in the locker room. Does that all make sense? All right, and I brought an Emmy so you guys can check it out and hopefully be sort of inspired. And that's it. So I have 13. I don't physically have 13 because they're too expensive to buy.
Yeah, I don't want to break it out.
You
I'm not
won't.
going to be responsible for that.
Well, yeah, so when you win one, so let's say I did a show with 10 people and there's 10 names on it, we only get one trophy. So if you want to buy one, they're like $350, and I just, yeah. Yeah, I know, yeah. Exactly. So, yeah, I mean, it's definitely an honor, and, the people that judge these are from New York, San Francisco, they could be from the South, like Houston, Florida. So it's nice that they're outside of your market and you're being judged by your peers, which is pretty cool. All right, so questions, because I'm much better at answering questions than...
Please get me on Instagram real quick.
That's awesome. What do you guys like the most? Do you like editing, or does anybody want to be on the air?
Well, about the editing, remember how you were saying in the beginning of your speech, how if you got some ideas, some videos you would like to see them or something?
Yeah.
Well, me and my cousin and our two guys, we shot this video on Christmas helping the homeless on Lower Wacker Drive, and it went viral over the news for a whole week straight.
Wow.
For giving away clothes to the homeless. We gave over 200 clothes to the homeless.
So did you do that through here, or was that on your own?
No, this was just on our own.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So you shot and edited?
We edited, put the music to it. It's on YouTube and it's on CBN News.
Can you send that to me? I'll give you my email address.
Okay. Yeah.
I'd like to see it. So you like editing, or do you like Filming?
I like editing and I like filming and I like acting. I got some videos on YouTube of me doing improv with some friends out in Flossmoor.
Oh, nice.
So we did little skits like The Reawakening.
That's cool. See, the more, and I'm sure your teachers have told you this, but the more you do outside the classroom on your own is key too, because you're building your resume real. I mean, obviously the teachers give you assignments and then you have something to show, but the more stuff and practice you do outside, like I do so much stuff outside of Comcast SportsNet, and most of it I don't get paid for, it's charity work. But that stuff is more fulfilling to me because it's not something that I have to do, you know, that I have to get on air.
Right.
So that's definitely key too. Hi,
Going
how are
back
you?
to your statement about creating stories from scratch, where did you find that? Like, what inspires you? Like,
There's a few things. I always tell people to send me stories, so I'll tweet, hey, does anybody have an amazing story? Let me know. I put my email out there. It's my work email. Nobody's gonna bother me with that. But also, I dig through magazines and papers every day. This Jeff Hobbs story, I mean, it was a huge story in 2003 when he was in high school and he was on the cross-country team. But now that he's actually running the marathon, which is literally a lifetime dream, I'm with him for like the biggest moment of his life, and hopefully that's going to be exclusive to us. And to be honest with you, no one else in the city is going to be able to do that story the right way, because an ABC 7 or an NBC 5 cannot devote a half hour to one story, and we can. And that's what I love about it. When I don't have time constraints, except for, okay, I have to fill 24 minutes, 30 seconds with commercials, it's nice to have that leeway and not say, here, do this guy's life story in 2 minutes.
Now, when you get your information, okay, let's take, for example, the Hobbs thing.
Yeah.
Did you interview him personally, or are you like Googling like getting information from the internet and things like that?
Yeah, so I'll do all the research. I did interview him. I mean, I'm not on air, obviously, so when I don't have a reporter, I sometimes have to do the interviews myself. Obviously, like, I'm not going to be the face of that show, but I will choose one of our reporters to do it. But yeah, anytime before I go into an interview, I comb everything I can. You know, something came up with him and it got a little bit uncomfortable, but it's because I did research and found out, like, he's not talking to his dad. And when I went to ask him that, I asked if I could ask it on camera, and he didn't want to do that. But because I had that sort of under my belt and knew that it might be uncomfortable, I at least knew that I should ask him before I asked the question if he wanted to do it on camera. So.
I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
For example, the documentaries that I saw, it starts with an idea. Can you kind of go through how the process is? Does it go from idea then to script, or does it go
Sure.
from idea to you shoot some B-roll and some interviews and go, okay, now let's formulate a script? Or, yeah,
Right, yeah.
Run through that.
So for 5 Outs, so that was a 90-minute documentary. That took us 2 months to do. It starts with logging all the sound, which I'm sure you guys have all done that. You log all the sound so you know what you have.
Well, a lot of us just started.
Yeah.
Okay, so you will, you know, literally log every sound bite. Like a lot of our interns, we ask them to log like an ICB and post-game press conference, and they sit down and they're like, oh no. So,
You never know what's going to come out of his mouth.
yeah, right. So it starts with the logging process. For a show that's like this, we have enough time where we can log it, and then we script it out. The biggest thing, and this is, my boss is really big on this, is when you're doing something, you need a goal, and you need to say, what do I want my audience to take away from this? And our biggest thing with 5 Outs was, this is not a Bartman documentary. This is about, yeah, it's about the 2003 Cubs. And if you watch that show, there's only one segment devoted to Bartman. And we didn't want to try to rehash Bartman. And, you know, the day that the show aired, his agent called and said, thank you for not totally camping outside his house, which ESPN did. They camped outside his house. They waited for him to come out. We did it the right way. We contacted his agent. He declined an interview. But you always have to have a focus for each piece. So, or even if it's a 2-minute piece, you want, what do you want the viewers to come away with? So before we start writing anything, we think about, okay, in this segment, we want to talk about they hired Dusty Baker. So that's the first segment. What are we doing in segment 2? Okay, they were a 500 team. Third segment, okay, let's go into the playoffs. So you need a focus for everything you do. And then you start to write, and you build around your sound bites. The sound bites are the key. You always want to think about the sound bites driving your feature. if you don't have any sound bites, then it's all about your writing.
So it would be best to at least get a few sound bites.
Yeah,
first
if it's
before you even-
if it's gonna drive the story, yes. But if you have worthless sound bites, then it's not necessary. So the validity of the sound bites come from your questions. So sometimes I won't get the answer I want from somebody, and I'll reword it in a different way. And I do that on the fly because you don't know until they don't answer it properly that it's not. Does that make sense?
Spontaneity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you gotta just fly with it.
Yeah,
I mean.
yeah.
Yeah, a lot of
Improv.
Improv, yeah, improv. I mean, and once you practice that, I mean, you guys should just practice on each other. You know, like act like he's Derek Rose or whatever. Yeah, I mean that's key. So yeah, and then what happens once we build a script is I start to edit. So I don't just write and coordinate. I also edit. I'm not able to give up editing yet, and they want me to, and I can't because when I am so invested in something, I want to just see it through. I don't trust anybody else to edit it yet, to be honest. And you guys will, once you start working, you'll be devoted to whatever project you're working on, and you'll want to see it through. It's just human nature for the most part.